Hallo, Guedavir Juma friend Devir. That just there is African, the language of the African people. Notice the spelling of these two. When we say African, it pertains to the language of the African people. But when we say African, it pertains to the people of Africa. Well, as you all know by now, I will be tackling about the language in Africa, specifically the South Africans and specifically the English language. But before I start, let me show you a list of contents you would find in this lecture. We have a brief overview of South Africa's background, an introduction to the English of South Africa, the phonology of English in South Africa, which has two categories, the vowels and the language interference, varieties of English in South Africa, South African influence in English, and lastly, the semantic and syntactic features of English in South Africa. Well, from the word itself, South Africa is located on the southern part of the African continent. Fact, if Japan is regarded as the land of the rising sun and Philippines as the Asia's pearl of the Orient Seas, South Africa is known as the Rainbow Nation, given its ethnical diversity. Well, the country covers an area of 1,221,000 kilometers squared. Compared, it is somewhat larger than 2 times the size of France, or slightly less than twice the size of Texas. South Africa has a population of 60 million people. This is an official estimate for 2021. The country's administrative capital is Pretoria in Tshwane. Legislative capital is in Cape Town, and judicial capital is Bloemfontein in Mangaung. And the largest city of South Africa is the Johannesburg. The most important religions in South Africa are various branches of Christianity, which dominates 80% of the population. The country is famous for its spectacular landscapes and the diversity of African animals. It is home to more than 145 mammal species, including the classical African Big Five, the African buffalo, the lions, leopards, elephants, and the hook-lipped rhinoceros, or popularly known as black rhino. Now, on to the main agenda for this lecture, the English in South Africa. We all are familiar with how the African people speak, especially when they use the English language in speaking. Their accent evidently showcases their nationality, just like Filipinos. Have you guys ever watched the Marvel movie titled Black Panther? This movie exhibits a strong culture of the African people in a fictional way and displays a strong example of their accents. Take a look at this short clip.
We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe.
According to Sopokoa in 2020, South Africa has 11 official languages. First is the Afrikaans, second is the English, the Indebele, Northern Sotho, Swazi, Tswana, Tongo, Venda, Xhosa, and Zulu. The most spoken languages are Zulu, which is 23%, Xhosa or isiXhosa in 16%, and the Afrikaans, which is 13.4%. Next is the phonology of English in South Africa. First category would be the vowels. The South African English has 3 types of vocalic nuclei: the short vowels, the long vowels, and the diphthongs. Long vowels and diphthongs are approximately the same length. This is according to Lass in 1995 in his book. The South African English system consists of 12 vowels. Lass in 1985 states that the South African English consonantal system can be divided into the following categories: These categories are presented in your screen right now. So first are the stops, the pa, ba, ta, so on and so forth. Second are the fricatives, the f, v, so on and so forth. 3 is the affricates, the cha and the r. 4th is the nasals, the mm, 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 so on and so forth. 5 is the liquid.
The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. A mantle passed from warrior to warrior. And now, because your friend murdered my father, I also wear the mantle of king. So I ask you, as both warrior and king, how long do you think you can keep your friend safe from me?
Now, on to the varieties of English in South Africa. Amongst the English speakers, there has been a traditional threefold distinction between conservative, respectable, and extreme South African English. According to Lanham in 1982, conservative South African English is based on the now dated British norm of received pronunciation. Respectable English is an indigenously developed norm typically found amongst the white English-speaking middle class, while extreme South African English as a variety based on externally rather than internally, and therefore ethnically based norms appears to have emerged as a prestigious variation or a model across all ethnically based varieties. Many English news readers, no matter what their ethnicity is, typically use something approximating this on radio and television. However, indigenously developed and more ethnically marked varieties, especially black accented English, appear to become more acceptable and are increasingly found on television and radio newspapers and news broadcasts. For the last main topic of this lecture, we have the semantic and syntactic features of English in South Africa. Question: how does the African people understand certain English words and what are their equivalents in their vocabulary? Presented here in your screen is a comparison of each English word's semantic equivalent in African English. So in the English word, we have robot. But in the African understanding, when they use the word robot, it pertains to the traffic light. According to Casalena in 2023, when you visit South Africa, don't be confused about the robots in the road. You won't see a human-like machine walking past the cars. Robot is simply the South African English term for the word traffic light. Next is the is it. You can often hear this phrase from South African people. This stands as an expression of disbelief, confusion, assurance, and expectation. The African equivalent for the phrase is that so is it and is pronounced as a Z sound instead of S. Is it? Is it? Is it? Is it? How's it? How's it is a shortened version of the phrase, of the English phrase, how is it? Concurred by the South Africans. As you all noticed by now, the South African people have the tendency of shortening words and making it sound zazzy. So when they ask people about their opinion, they usually go like this: how's it? How's it? How's it? How's it? I'm sorry, I don't know the accent. The following are expressions used by the South African people. The reference was taken from the South African character in Valorant, Efia Danso, popularly known as Astra.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yes, that is it, my fam. Whew.
You can often hear this endearment from the South African people. In the standard English, fam is considered as a slang word. a shortened version of the word family. The definition circles on the idea of a group of people who are biologically connected. However, in the South African vocabulary, fam pertains to the people they treasure the most, whether it may be blood related or not.
Hey, too close. But close enough, eh? Stay quiet.
Eh is considered as an exclamation, expressive of surprise, pity, complaint, entreaty, contempt, threatening, delight, triumph, etc. According to the manner of utterance, it is used to express a range of emotions, including surprise, pleasure, sympathy, and realization. Eh? 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 Eh?
Race, it's time to get cray-cray, my girl.
Cray cray and my girl. In standard English, cray cray is a slang word that the English equivalent is crazy. This language can be heard often from the South African people. It stands as a euphemism and an expression. The phrase my girl in the South African lexicon is used when two female of great bond regard each other. It is only used when these two female individuals share a special bond. And we have reached the end of our discussion. For my conclusive remarks, to sum up everything that has been stated so far, the history of South Africa's language is very rich. However, one could only tackle so much in 10 minutes. South African people's accent is very identifiable and unique, just like how identifiable Philippine English is in Hawaii and in every part of the world. Despite its display of strong diction, there are still quite a lot of people who finds their accent fascinating and fun. On a more technical side, the phonological structure of South Africa's English emphasizes on how they prolong their vowel sounds, and how they give strong articulation of the fricative sounds, especially the sound or the z sound. When they speak, you can notice several displays of language or the slang language. It was also believed that some of the dominating slangs in the linguistic world was contributed or influenced by the African people. That marks the end of my discussion. Thank you so much for listening, and may you have learned something in today's lecture. Bye-bye!